Pit lane speed limit is 72 kilometers per hour. The track temperature is decreasing. It's now 27 Celsius.
Bandeira verde, tá valendo. Ok, vai abrir a primeira volta cronometrada agora.
The leader has just done a 155.1.
Voltas de combustível, começa a pensar na parada. Só mais uma. 55.7.
P3, you're now 0.7 off the leader's pace.
Atenção, hein? Você só tem mais uma volta de combustível. Beleza, bandeira quadriculada. Acabou. Pode vir pro box.
That's the end of the session. P2.
Vai que eu sobrevivo aí bem na volta lá, cara. Essa mola aqui, né? Acho que vai ter que reaprender a largar. Realmente só tão rápido.
11 laps. The strength of field is 1500. The track temp is 27 Celsius. The air temp is 19.
O SOP estimado é 1529. A gente espera estar brigando por pódio.
This will be a standing start.
Bandeira verde, tá valendo.
Ele falou, cara. Isso
Teve um
mesmo.
acidente ali atrás, hein?
Clear
Na
right.
direita. Liberado na direita. O próximo é o líder. Vamos lá.
Calma aí, líder. Calma aí, líder.
And I don't get it, man. I was on the right. You guys pressed me from the back. What's the point? Do meu lado, olha.
Okay, Max, keep piling on the pressure. He'll make a mistake.
59.102.
Meu Deus, maluco, maluco.
Car right. Still there.
Aí.
Still right side's clear.
Beleza, limpo na direita.
Keep pushing him, there'll be a chance here.
Doido de pé desse cara.
The leader has just done a 155.8. The guy behind has just done a 156.0. Incident in La Source. It looks like Brad.
Usa mais bateria, maluco. Usa a bateria aí. Na T1. Desconectou. Deve ter matado lá.
The gap to Rob behind is now 2.2 seconds. You're leading.
Você acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. É líder que fala, né? Uhul!
Fastest lap for Alonso, 154.9.
O carro na posição 12 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 54.853.
gap to V2 behind is now 2.9 seconds. Fastest lap.
54.51. Você acaba de fazer a volta mais
The
rápida.
guy behind has just done a 155.2. That's the fastest lap of the race.
Você acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida.
Que é isso, cara?
The gap behind is now 3.5.
Nossa.
Tá tudo ok com o carro, tá? Não tem dano nenhum.
Okay, Max, that's half distance. You're looking good for fuel. That was a 154.8. The guy behind has just done a 154.9.
E aí, GHT, bora.
Slippery surface flag, careful.
E aí, Cordeiro. O quê? Ele freia mais rápido? Sim, freia mais dentro, né? Ah, cara, eu não tô... O cara tá se matando demais essa semana, bicho. Pelo amor de Deus. Tentei fazer uma corrida ontem. Hoje eu não consegui largar. Os caras se matam 7, 8 pilotos na largada. Não consegue largar com o carro. Final de semana aqui vai estar bacana, viu?
Alright, Max. You've used half your fuel.
Final de semana aqui vai estar bem bacana.
That's the fastest lap.
586. Você acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida.
Os carros precisam de 100% foco, é impressionante. Todos eles, né? Esse aqui principalmente. 3 voltinhas. Bora, vamos sim. Cheguei a falar com ele sim. Mas acabei que desisti por hora, sabe, GT? Vou voltar a trabalhar essa semana agora. Aí eu vou ver como é que tá meu calendário aí.
You're now in the lead.
Mas assim, acho que eu vou querer só ficar brincando mesmo, sabe, cara? Subir a rate aqui vai ser foda, que aí o cara vai ter que ficar treinando, analisando telemetria. E correr com os caras de 3K de rate é outra realidade. Aí entre 2, 2,5 aqui eu fico mais confortável, venho, faço meu treino, pego o traçado na própria corrida, no Prats. Dou 3, 4 voltinhas ali, aí já tô competitivo, sabe? Nesse software, né, que eu tô falando. 40 anos já, bicho. Não tem os mesmos reflexos de um jovem de 20 e poucos anos.
We're quickest at the moment. Sector 1 is 0.4 off the pace.
Lógico. Fazer coach sempre vale a pena, né? Então, aí outra coisa que eu tava esperando, né? Essa season nova aí e tal.
That's a new fastest lap
Eu falei com ele.
154.5.
Assim, eu achei até bem justo. Acho que eu falei pra você, né? O valor, né? Pelo tipo de coach que ele passa, né, cara? Ele se dedica horas ali pra ensinar e tal. Acho que vale a pena. Mas também tem que se dedicar. Tem que ser um GT3. O GTP já é um carro diferente. Eu gosto de andar de GTP. Tô curtindo andar de forma também. Mas acho que o que ele passa pra uma categoria, aproveita em todas, né? Eu vou ver, pelo menos um coach eu vou fazer com ele. Pra ver como é. Tem muito vício, né? Que num coach talvez ele consiga corrigir. Quer dizer, ele vai orientar como corrigir, né? Por exemplo, agora eu não tava nem conseguindo patinando a regada toda. Aí um amigo meu, Flávio Hugo aí, falou comigo. Disse, ó, você tá fazendo isso. Aí eu, será? Fui testar aqui justamente. Só foi pegar a dica dele. Então o coach é muito disso, né, cara? O cara vai analisando suas voltas, vai... Deve valer muito a pena.
54 pontos.
Come on, Max. 2 to go. Stay focused. We can win this. That lap was at 154.9. Your lap times are pretty consistent. New fastest lap for Brad, 154.2.
O carro na posição 5 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 54.222.
The gap to Rob behind is now 4.7.
Fazer a terceira T1 com bateria é complicado, hein?
Só mais uma volta para correr para braço.
Come on, Max. One more lap. Keep it together. We'll win this. Slippy surface flag. The guy behind has just done a 154.5. The gap to Rob behind is now 5.5 seconds. Perfect drive, absolutely flawless. Well done, Max.
Isso!
Corrida tranquila. É, tem que fazer quadro, largar lá na frente, torcer pra ninguém matar ninguém. E no pace a gente faz uma corridinha boa, né? Do pace.
Brad has taken the win.
Caralho. Corridinha boa. Pezinho 54. Setup fixo tá bom. Race. Acho que ninguém se matou nessa não, né? Vamos ver. Não tem jeito, cara. Ó, não tem jeito. Largar lá atrás, é isso aí, ó. Os caras se matam, não sabem largar. Na outra eu fui fazer essa. Eu disse, não, essa setup open, eu vou largar ali atrás. Aí eu era o último carro. O P1 rodou uma largada, estacionou, rodou, bateu no outro, aí no meio também teve esse pagode, eu freiei o carro, mas não teve jeito. Quem vem lá atrás se lasca por causa dos outros. Não consegue frear o carro. Olha lá, ó. Nossa senhora, cara, olha isso, bicho. É isso, Cordeiro. Sim, chegou, mais pelo básico, sim. Vale demais, né? Olha essa largada desses caras, bicho. Por isso que os caras estão no box, largando no box aqui. Olha essa bizarrice, cara. Que bizarrice, meu irmão. Olha, os cara não sabem largar. Ó. Ó o outro lá. Ferrari com... Meu Deus do céu, cara. É bizarro. Como diz meu sobrinho. É bizarro, tio. É bizarro. É bizarro. Meu sobrinho de 5 anos. Isso é bizarro, né, tio? Eu digo, é bizarro. Meu Deus, mano. Ainda bem que a gente... Cordeiro, tenha certeza, meu amigo. Final de semana é isso aqui que você vai ver. Pior, né? Porque tá todo mundo já no limite do limite. Vai ser isso, cara. Vai ser isso daí. Entendeu? Aí esse aqui, faltou experiência nesse maluco aí. Ele usou a bateria cedo demais, numa volta inteira, pra tentar tirar o vácuo, né? Resultado, ele errou lá na frente, não segurou a pressão não. Você tá dando uns stutters aqui, cara, que não tá normal esses stutters, não é normal isso. Umas travadas, olha. Eu tava pilotando aqui, deu uma travada aqui, porra, que é isso? Deixa isso aqui em segundo plano aqui. Super Fórmula é isso, cara, é o cara ter sorte na largada, né, principalmente na T1, na T1 e T2 ali, pronto. Depois o ritmo o cara faz, como em todas as outras, né. Muito bom. Você a gente faz uma no Open agora, mais ou menos, né. Um pouco mais de sorte, cara, tá? Foda, foda. Isso aqui é o que é. Eu vi o trail break. O trail breakzinho tá. Teria um monte de porcaria na minha tela, de gráfico, de coisa. Eu tô conseguindo me concentrar melhor. Vou nessa sábado, tô em casa, valeu, mano. Beleza, Cordeiro, valeu demais. A gente se fala no sábado então. Eu amanhã eu já vou estar off. Mas aí no final de semana a gente combina aí as corridinhas aí. Valeu demais. Amanhã e sexta eu vou estar só acompanhando as lives da galera. Esse cara é bom demais. Garoto aí no... tomada de câmera 2 aqui no Super Fórmula é o contrário do melhor, ó. Bom, vamos ver o que deu aqui agora. Recuperar um pouco desse Caralho. 51, meu amigo. Setup fixo. Ah, mas também é T, né, o cara. Olha aí, porra. O cara é bom em tudo, ó. Caralho. Insulto aqui. 31 também. 51. Nossa, 55. 2. 52 segundos mais rápido, amigo. Galerinha não tá pra brincadeira, não. É isso, amigo. Ai.
So slashed and torn.
Next to you can make them flash as a spotter, and basically whatever you want to do with them you can through SimHub. It is fully customizable. The switches themselves have a really nice snappy activation, 500 grams of activation force in both cases, and they do both feel absolutely identical to each other. So look, the button feel is quite similar to what you would find, as I mentioned before, on the Cube Control CSX3. These are maybe a little tiny bit more snappy. Subjectively, I do slightly prefer the feeling of these buttons, but there is very, very, very little if anything, in between the two. I think unless you were sort of had them both side by side on the table, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two. Some other wheels have slightly more squishy buttons, but you know, again, check out our full detailed reviews on all those wheels for all the breakdown of that. But yeah, no complaints at all with regards to the feeling of the buttons. Yeah, they're absolutely fine, nice and snappy, no risk of accidentally pressing without knowing that you've done so. And you can see they do have shrouds around all of these buttons. Although most people that are in a market for a wheel with a screen on it probably aren't going to be racing in VR, it does mean that you can feel where you are on the wheel quite conveniently, even if you're not looking at it, which I guess is useful if you're mid-corner and you want to make an adjustment or something like that too, while you're establishing your muscle memory. And they are metal shrouds around all those as well. There's no plastic, unlike what we see on the Cube Controls wheels for comparison there. Now, one important thing to note with regards to the push buttons, just like what we saw with the X29, is that these aren't stickers that you see. These are actually UV printed buttons. Now, unlike with the X29, which just comes with what it comes with, you do have the option within that configuration tool that we were talking about before to change out what you have displayed on each button here. So look, you can pull the wheels apart, and there are some instructions on the GSA website if you do want to change these button caps out or swap their positions. But the best way to do this would be to configure it when you actually make your custom wheel in the configuration tool, and that way you're going to get the buttons in the positions that you want them. But look, the advantage of these UV printed buttons is that they're nowhere near as impacted by general wear and tear. You've seen a lot of wheels by now, you know, the stickers start to move around or twist or slide after extended use. Quite often the backlight shining through them isn't quite uniform as well. So this just has a much cleaner and more high-end look and feel overall, I would say, than pretty much anything that I've tested before, to be completely honest with you guys. Very, very nice integration here, but of course at the cost of not being able to just easily change and put different stickers on later on if you wish to do so. So yeah, just be mindful of that. We do on the Hyper P1 have 3 of these 7-way switches. Look, 3 may be a little bit excessive here. I can't really think of too many usage cases where you'd need more than 2. I usually say in my review videos 2 is good because you can map one to your for your black box inside the car and the other one to your menu system. I'm sort of scratching my brain trying to think of why I would use a third one, but it's there if you want it. I'm sure you can let me know in the comments down below what you might find that useful for. But we've got rotary encoder functionality as well as left, right, up, down, and push button, and exactly the same on the Formula Pro Elite V2 wheel as well. Nice, clearly defined detents rotating in each direction, and these are identical to the ones on the X29 as well, for those of you who might be sort of tossing up between the two. So yeah, no issues at all operating those with or without gloves. Some wheels can feel a little bit too vague with gloves on, or maybe a little bit too stiff without gloves on. This, I would say, is right in the sweet spot. And same goes for the rotary dials down here as well. We'll take a look at the extended functionality of these when we get into the software a little bit later on. But just so you guys are aware, in both cases here, you can actually engage a second function by pushing down and then rotating the knobs. So you might want to map one, so say traction control 1 would be just rotating it normally, and then traction control cut or traction control 2 might be pushing the same button down and then rotating it, for example. So fully configurable through the software, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But these are, of course, metal touch points in both cases and do have very nice solid clicks in either direction. I will say I do prefer the switch style that we have here on the Formula Pro Elite V2. That is one of the little reasons why I subjectively prefer the FPE V2 over the Hyper P1. I just find these a little bit easier to, you know, quickly sort of grab and rotate. And also you can kind of establish muscle memory around the physical feeling and position of these switches. Whereas with this switch style, you can't really sort of feel the position. You've got to kind of look at it to know exactly what's going on. So there is that difference here. You might have noticed as well, the switches do react to when you push the buttons too. So that is all programmable through SimHub, of course. But yeah, you can customize that to your heart's content. Just wanted to quickly show you that because it is quite cool. So then just quickly on the thumb encoders, which we mentioned briefly earlier, again, they've done a really nice job here of getting the feeling of clicks between them absolutely perfect. And I don't use that term lightly, but whether you're driving with gloves on or gloves off, just like what we're talking about with the rotary encoders before, some wheels can be way too stiff to use without gloves and they kind of cut into your fingers. Some wheels like the Fanatec Formula style wheels, for example, a lot of people complain that they find the thumb encoders to be far too loose and you just can't feel where you are if you're rotating, particularly with gloves on. So yeah, I would say they've absolutely nailed that. One thing that I will just have a little minor whinge about with regards to the Hyper P1 is that I did notice that the position 1 on these switches does unfortunately correlate with the little hole for the grub screw. So if you're OCD like me and you always like to return your switches to position 1, you are going to unfortunately be looking at the hole for the grub screw all the time. So that is one very, very, very minor little complaint there. I would have preferred it if they printed the numbers aligned a little bit differently, so you're not always looking at that hole if you return it to number 1, but you know, that's just my OCD. But yeah, when you break it down to all the buttons and functions that you have available on both wheels, you've got a total of 57 mappable functions on the FPE V2 and a total of 72 on the Hyper P1. So just to quickly touch on the displays as well, both of these wheels feature a 4.3 inch LCD. Both of them have very good viewing angles. I mean, not that you're ever going to be looking at a steering wheel 3-inch LCD. Both of them have very good viewing angles. I mean, not that you're ever going to be looking at a steering wheel off center anyway, so it doesn't really matter realistically. But yeah, you can move from side to side and you know, they don't lose their color or ghost or anything weird like that. Nice and vibrant and bright as well, as you can see in the driving footage, so no complaints there whatsoever. And the resolution, I'm not 100% certain exactly what the resolution is. It's not actually listed on their website at all, but I can tell you that it is absolutely sufficient to read even, you know, relatively fine text and things like that if you want to look at something like a leaderboard on the display. So yeah, no complaints at all with regards to the LCDs. There are other wheels that have larger displays, as we were mentioning before, the Solpac Spectra XR and the Myris V2 from Rexing, both do have larger displays. But regardless of whether you're using GSI's SimHub dashes or something like Lovely Dashboard, for example, very, very clear to read, no issues at all. And they are both touchscreen functionality as well, so you can map the touch to changing pages or other functions to your heart's content as well. Now, LEDs, we also do have an array of LEDs on both wheels. We've got an RPM strip across the top in both cases, as well as flag LEDs on either side. So on the Hyper P1, we have a total number of addressable RGB LEDs of 88. Whereas on the FPE V2, we have a total number of 66. So again, you can map these and control them however you want through SimHub. There are a lot of LED profiles from guys like Daniel Newman Racing, for example, through SimHub. There are a lot of LED profiles from guys like Daniel Newman Racing, for example, which are available for these too. So if you're not keen to spend the time to configure your own custom profiles, there is plenty of support there. And they do have a fantastic Discord community too, where a lot of people share their hard work. So yeah, really good to see that. And that has all moved on a very long way since we originally reviewed the Formula Pro Elite a number of years ago. But we'll talk about that more when we get into software in just a moment. So I think that's everything we need to talk about in terms of the front sides of the wheels. Let's flip the wheels around now and quickly talk about shifters and paddles, quick releases, USB cables, and all those important details. Okay, so what do we have on the back of these wheels? Let's start with the FPE V2 here. So look, I mean, in terms of build quality materials, identical between the two once again. We've got the GSI CEMS NS2 shifters here. Now, there isn't any adjustability in terms of throw or activation or anything like that. But look, honestly, I don't think that anybody's going to need it. Some of the wheels that I've tested in the past, like the Cube Controls wheels, for example, in some cases we've found that where they do have a lot of adjustability, things can work their way loose over time and start to move around or just slip out of calibration. Not going to have an issue with a shifter that can't be adjusted. So as long as it's well positioned and you've got nice big paddles like what we do have here, I think that that's probably a good design choice, but you may feel otherwise. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about that. But you can see aluminium cages here, nice and chunky, absolutely no flex or movement or anything like that at all to speak of in any case on any of these paddles. You can see we do have the carbon fiber option here in both cases. If we pull up the X29, this is the aluminium version. No real meaningful difference between the two. There's no more or less flex in either case. The only real difference being if you are driving with bare hands, then the metal is obviously a cold touch point, whereas carbon fiber is generally going to just sort of idle at room temperature a little bit more. But yeah, look, very, very good shifters. Some of the best shifters, if not the best shifters, I think I've ever experienced on any wheel. And the reason I say that is, again, because the activation force here, subjectively, of course, is absolutely perfect, at least for me. So the amount of effort that's required to get the shift to initiate is just absolutely spot on. Not too stiff and not too loose either. I do have a habit, if I've got loose shifters, of kind of just idling and holding them a little bit past the threshold, and then sometimes I end up missing shifts. That is just a bad habit that I have. Not everybody's going to do that, but yeah, these shifters are absolutely amazing, and they're relatively quiet as well. You can hear they're not the quietest I've tested, but they do have little rubber stoppers inside there that do stop them from smacking metal to metal. So certainly not the loudest either. If you compare them to something like Asher Racing, for example, if I reach across quickly here, you can hear much, much, much louder on the Asher racing wheel. Although if you do kind of hold it in your hand and cushion it yourself, you can make it quiet, but you're not really going to be doing that when you're driving most of the time. So yeah, definitely quieter on the GSI wheels. Now, remembering that the analog clutch paddles are an optional extra on the FPE V2, you can see plenty of movement there. These are mappable as individual axis, so you can use them as a throttle and brake, or as a single axis like a handbrake, which you can activate on either side, or as a dual bite point clutch. And we'll show you how that all works through the software a little bit later on. Now, the upper paddles and the shifters don't have any adjustability, but the clutch paddles do actually have an adjustment for the amount of throw. So you can loosen the little 2mm bolt on either side of this rear part of the cage here, and this will then pivot in and out to allow you to adjust the amount of throw. Now, unfortunately, they don't include an Allen key to get in there, and my Allen key, or all the Allen keys that I have, are actually too fat to fit in that gap there, which I think probably most people are gonna find to be the case, because this is already a pretty shallow Allen key. So I would like to see them, you know, include a 15-cent Allen key that would allow you to actually make that adjustment a little bit easier. A lot of wheels these days, particularly this kind of price point, include all the hardware that you gotta find. Actually, two Allen key to allow you to adjust the amount of throw. Now, unfortunately, they don't include that adjustment. They need to make adjustments and so forth. So there's really no excuse for not. You have, almost feels hydraulic, to be honest with you. It isn't, but they've really done a really nice job here. Very, very smooth. And there's enough of a change in resistance as you pull. It's progressive enough that you do get a good sense of where you are in the stroke. So if you're the sort of person that has very precise inputs for something like throttle and brake input, if you're using it that way, then yeah, this is definitely among the best of the best. The analog paddles in both cases here are using Hall effect sensors, so there's no moving mechanical parts or anything like that that can wear and tear or take on dirt and debris over time. The shifter paddles on the FPE V2, as well as the shifters and extended paddles on the Hyper P1, are using little micro switches, as you can see here. These are automotive grade micro switches, which are sealed units, so they shouldn't have any issues with taking on dirt and debris over time. So I don't see that to be a disadvantage over other wheels.
Okay, Max, we've got 2 laps to set a decent time.
Valendo, valendo, valendo. Ok, vai abrir a primeira volta cronometrada agora. Voltas de combustível. Começa a pensar na parada.
The leader has just done a 154.6. The leader has just done a 152.7.
Atenção, os oficiais estão nos dizendo que não aceitam a maneira que você está pilotando. As suas voltas vão ser deletadas até que você resete o carro e tente novamente.
Carrinho brabo, meu amigo.
Watch the track limits, please, Max.
Acabou.
What's your speed limit in the pits? Box in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Box now.
Vem aqui.
Ô, carrinho brabo. Olha, como é que eu perdi esse carro ali?
Front right, 95%. Rear left, 96.
Vira-voltas forçando demais. Pé demais, ó. Quase 100% aqui. Bandeira preta aí, cara. Que pode, bicho. Espera aqui.
Wheels that use Hall effect sensors, but you may feel differently about that, so it's important to let you know that that is what they're using there. But yeah, overall just very, very high quality, no flex, nothing like that to speak of, and yeah, absolutely nothing to complain about there other than just a lack of adjustability, which may or may not be a problem for you. All I can tell you is that it hasn't been a problem for me at all. I haven't needed to adjust these or wished that I could adjust them at any point. So yeah, hasn't been an issue. So just a couple of more quick things to note on the back of both of these wheels. In both cases, we do have a 70mm hole pattern here for mounting pretty much any quick release that you might want. What you're seeing on the back here is a 50mm spacer, which is an optional accessory from GSI. You can see a black one here, as well as a red one on the FPE V2. There are other color options available, purple, gold, you name it, pretty much it's an option on the website. You guys can check that out for yourself. Those are an additional expense, of course. There is the option for a 100mm spacer if 50 isn't going to be big enough for you as well. So just make sure you check that the quick release that you're going to be mounting is going to have enough clearance to the shifters. If you've got a really shallow wheelbase that's going to interfere with the shifters on the back here, you may need to have a spacer. Most people, I think, probably aren't going to need these though. So yeah, just don't assume that you need to spend the money. Check that you're going to have enough clearance distance there. And what I would recommend is once you account for the cable rotating past your base and everything, you are going to want to have about 50mm between your quick release and the mounting surface of the wheel. So just be mindful of that as well. And that goes for both wheels here. So you can money. Check that you're going to have enough clearance distance there. And what are these though? So yeah, just don't assume that you need to spend the money. Check that you're going to have enough clearance distance there. And what I would recommend is once you account for the cable rotating past your base and everything, you are going to want to have about 50mm between your quick release and the mounting surface of the wheel. So just be mindful of that as well. And that goes for both wheels here. So you can see internally there is a little tiny cutout in the back here. Now, Internally, if you open one of these up, and I'm not going to open these wheels up for this video, there is actually a video on the GSI YouTube channel, which I'll link in the description down below, that shows you how to install shifter paddles, change button caps, and so forth. So if you want to have a look at what the internals are like on these wheels, that's a good option. But there is a little pin header internally that you can unplug the USB connector and then potentially plug something else in there. So you do have a little pass through there if you wanted to run a cable to a internal style quick release, although there's no official support for that. They don't include a little pigtail or anything like that. But you'll notice on both wheels, they have that tiny little notch in the back there, which you could potentially use for achieving that if you want.
P19, 19 laps. You've got cold tyres, we need to get some heat into them.
Eita.
O SOF estimado é 3.096. Ó, atenção, hein? Tem muito ponto em jogo. Vê se usa a cabeça e tenta conseguir uma boa colocação. Metade dos carros já no grid. Cinco carros faltando no grid. Ainda estamos esperando por 2 carros no grid.
Standing start now. Go, go,
Bandeira
go!
verde. Tem
On your
carro à
left.
sua esquerda. Vai pela esquerda.
Step to your left.
Liberou na esquerda.
Okay, Max, the next car is Strauss. Good start.
Eu e meu amiguinho japonês aqui.
Tem acidente aí na frente. Tem
There's an
carro
incident
lento na
in Bruxelles.
esquerda.
We think it
Vai
might
pela
be
direita.
Traeger.
Tem carro lento na esquerda.
There's an incident
Tem carro
in
lento
campus.
na
We think it
esquerda.
might be
Vai pela
Paul.
direita.
Yellow flag.
Tem
Car
carro
left.
na sua esquerda.
Clear left.
Limpo. Tem
Left
carro na
side,
sua
clear
esquerda.
left.
Liberou na esquerda.
Alright, Max. Don't let this guy distract you.
6.448.
V14.
Tem carro lento
Car
na
right.
esquerda, tem carro na direita.
Right side's clear. Slippery
Liberado na
surface, lights
direita.
out.
Ai meu Deus, tem um italiano aqui que ele vai me matar.
Stay close,
Exatamente.
keep the pressure on. Left side, clear left.
Limpo.
The guy in front is Lucas, and their rating is 3.8. The guy in front is Nunes. Car left. He's still
Ainda aí,
there.
mantendo a linha.
He's still there. Clear left.
Limpo.
Have it. Nice one. The leader has just done a 154.0.
E11. 53. Teve acidente ali atrás, hein?
Okay, Max. The next car is Tim. Incident in Stablo. Looks like it's Tim. Fastest lap for Emilio, 153.5.
Carro na posição 1 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 53.515. 56.709. Você está no top 10.
The car ahead is Lucas, and their rating is 3.8. The guy in front is Murti, and their rating is 3.4. The gap to Traeger behind is now 2.0. Slippery surface flag, be careful.
Essa foi a sua volta mais rápida da sessão.
Trailer is getting closer. The gap's now 1.6. Okay Max, you're reeling, E9, in. The gap is now 1.2. They're slower than us through campus. The gap to P9 in front is now 1.1.
O líder acabou de fazer 53.587.
P10. We think P6 has binned it in La Source.
Tem
Car
carro
left.
na sua esquerda.
Hold your line. Clear left.
Limpo.
Come on, Max. Good stuff. Keep it coming. Right, the guy ahead of us is Lucas, and their rating is 3.8.
55.845. Na
Car left.
esquerda.
Hold
Ainda
your
aí,
line.
mantém a tua linha.
Clear left.
Beleza, limpo na esquerda.
Come on, don't let him get away. The next car is Traeger, and their rating is 3.2. New fastest lap for Emilio, 153.2.
O carro na posição 1 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 53.222.
The gap to P10 behind is now 1.1 seconds.
55.888.
The gap in front is now 1.1. That's a new fastest lap for Emilio,
O carro
153.1.
na posição 1 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 53.14.
Thank you.
54.917.
You've just done a 154.9. The gap to 10th position behind is now 1.0. The gap to trailer ahead is now 1.2 seconds.
O carro na posição 3 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 53.097.
Tem que ficar mais tarde na P0 ali.
54.58.
You're halfway home. Your fuel is fine.
Essa
That's your
foi a
quickest
sua
lap in this
volta
session.
mais rápida da sessão.
The gap to Merte behind is now 1.2. Fastest lap for Emilio,
O
152.9.
carro na posição 1 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 52.935.
Essa P0 ele tira muito, né?
54.3.
Your last lap time was 154.6.
Carro lento aí na frente.
There's an
Cuidado.
incident
Tem
in
acidente aí na
Lacoon. It
frente.
looks like Alcolia.
O líder acabou de fazer 52.944.
The gap to Merte behind is increasing. It's now 1.8 seconds.
O carro na posição 3 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 52.682.
Eighth place. incident in Stavlo. We think it might be Rob. They're showing the slippery surface flag. You're reeling, trailer in. The gap is 2.1. The leader's just done a 152.7.
O carro na posição 3 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 52.633. Essa foi a sua volta mais rápida da sessão.
Okay, Max, that's good consistency. Keep it up. The gap to Murti behind is now 2.1. The gap to Traeger ahead is now 2.4. New fastest lap for Emilio, 152.6.
Acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 52.593. Essa foi a sua volta mais rápida da sessão. Tá indo bem, vamos lá, só mantém.
Gap to P9 behind is now 2.6 seconds. That's a new fastest lap for Emilio, 152.6.
O carro na posição 1 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 52.556.
The car in front of us is now 2 laps behind.
Ainda tem mais ou menos 5 voltas de combustível sobrando.
Thank you.
The gap to Merte behind is now 2.6 seconds.
54.408.
P8. New fastest lap for Emilio, 152.3.
Carro na posição 1 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida, 52.347. O carro na posição 2 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida, 52.016.
There's an incident in La Source. It looks like it's T-Man. Two laps remaining. The gap to Merte behind is now 3.2.
O líder acabou de fazer 52.649.
Fastest lap for Bert, 151.8.
O carro na posição 4 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida, 51.813. Bandeira branca, só mais uma pro final. 53.634.
Last lap.
Essa foi
Your
a
lap
sua
time was
volta mais rápida da sessão.
153.6. Good consistency. Keep them coming. Slippery surface flag.
Deve ter mais ou menos 2 voltas de combustível. Atenção aí.
The gap behind is now 4.0 seconds. Emilio is the winner. That's a new fastest lap for Emilio, 151.7.
O carro na posição 1 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 51.71.
You have also passed.
New fastest lap for Bert, 151.4.
O carro na posição 3 acaba de fazer a volta mais rápida. 51.354.